Good morning, everyone. On behalf of the Capital Club, we would like you to join me to welcome His Excellency Abdullah bin Touq, the Minister of Economy, and His Excellency Amir Hayek, Israeli Ambassador to UAE. The UAE and Israel has announced a historic normalization agreement on the 15th of September 2020, which is now transforming the Middle East. The Abrahamic Accord illustrates the similar and powerful values that the UAE and Israel has shared when it comes to creating a brighter future for the region and expanding opportunities for the youth. Today's panel discussion, it will be moderated by Waleed Al Awadhi, the CEO of the DFSA.
Good morning, everybody. Well, I didn't expect this much of attendance on one day in Capital Club, so that's very impressive. Your Excellencies, it's an honor to be here today. We have had excellent discussion in the waiting area, and if you guys hear the discussion in the waiting area, that would be the session today. So I'll repeat exactly what were discussed, Your Excellencies, if you allow me.
Sure.
I won't start
No
by
secrets. No secrets.
I won't start by Manchester United and Man City. We have two fans here. By Your Excellency, it's now almost 18 months since the Abraham Accord was signed, since September 2020. Businesses from UAE and Israel welcome this agreement and have been exploring areas of investment and growth. What are the economic sectors have seen most benefit due to this agreement? What is the impact, Your Excellency?
First of all, good morning, and thank you for the opportunity to be here with you. It's a great honor for me. Thank you, Waleed, for your question. Your Highness, thank you for being with me here. The Abraham Accords gave us the opportunity to be, in the sun, in the light of sun. And that's thanks to His Highness Sheikh Mohammed bin Zayed, who was brave to do that. And I think that what they did, the leaders, to bring us to this point was very significant and very important. Now, when we are talking about business, we are talking about impact sectors. When I'm talking about impact sectors, it's everything that can make the world better. I'm talking about food security and agrotechnology. I'm talking about healthcare and medical equipment. I'm talking about education. I'm talking about software from any kind, telecommunication, water, energy, everything that can improve what we are doing between us and can have impact on other countries, not to say the entire world, because we would like to create new things. I'm telling to many of my friends that the cooperation between both countries is against mathematics. And they're asking me why. I said, because in mathematics, 1 and 1 is 2. And here, 1 and 1 is 11. I think that we have many similarities between both countries. And those similarities can bring us into a huge economic power and in the right direction of the economy.
Your Excellency Abdullah bin Touq, I'll ask you the same question. Where do you see the impact on businesses in the UAE?
Well, this room is an impact here. I think starting off, like I said, Monday morning and seeing a full room packed, and I heard the room is filled with 90 people. I said, wow, we can't keep them waiting. And I think it's important that we address this at the point. And I think the most important part, before I start, I'd just like to welcome everybody to the session today. I'd like to as well to thank the Capital Club for bringing us together. And I think it's an important and vital opportunity for us to really speak about it. I think the impact in numbers, it's $1.4 billion for the last 18 months since the signing of it, if we put it in dollar signs. And we look to increase that the next 10 years as well, to reach at least $6 to $7 billion US to trade between us and Israel. And this is something which is very vital and very important. This collaboration that really goes back and mentioned by His Excellency, the ambassador said that, you know, maybe it was in hiding. And I think the first day when we saw the agreement happens, we saw a lot of people putting pictures of their visits to Israel before the agreement. And we saw a lot of business-to-business arrangements that happened in the past. So we're very happy, and I think this is something which really pushes forward. Our 2019 policy has changed from the host of the Pope in 2019, so the release of the Mars probe in 2020. UAE have shifted gear away from politics in the region to more appetite to peace and economy and prosperity. And this is very vital and important. I've said it many times in my stories. When I was in 2020 in September, and I got the call that I'm going to go to the States to see the sign of the Abrahamic Accord, I had to lock myself up in the house for a couple of weeks, which was okay. Back then in 2020, we were always locked out. Yes. My daughter asked me, she said, you know, Dad, I heard you're traveling. We were on breakfast. And I said, yes, I'm traveling. And she said, where are you going? I said, I'm going to the States. And she said, why? I said, we're going to sign a peace treaty. She said, she's 9-year-old. And she said, peace, why? Are we in war? At that moment, I couldn't answer. And I had 2 ways to answer this question. A 9-year-old, one of the toughest age of any kid. Yeah, I think we all agree with that. And I said, either I talk about history and try to explain things and I get, you know, muddy and messy. And I always say, talk about the future. I said, we are signing peace for the future. We're signing peace for you, for the next generations, for the youth of the region. So the point I'm saying is that what really impacts, not just economy, I think what it's really brought to the people of both nations, this partnership, this is something which is very vital.
While signing or before signing, how it felt when you first time met your counterparties in Tel Aviv?
Well, that's a good question, because when I went to Tel Aviv, I went just for 3 hours. Exactly. And because Israel was on lockdown at that time, and we went in October in 2020 to sign the air travel agreement. And the air travel agreement between the 2 nations, you know, to start connecting people, you need to sign this agreement where allows airlines to go in and out. And so we were hosted in Tel Aviv. We were flown in, and I think that's something which is very vital, very important. To see Tel Aviv, to see Israel for the first time, for me, was an experience through that. We flew through Etihad airline. We reached in the afternoon. We had a big ceremony. We signed it. And I think coming back from that really is a remarkable day as well. I still have the Etihad air ticket hanged on my wall to really, you know, show the actions there that's happened there. And this is something which is very personal to me as well. And I think we will see more airlines going through. We're going to see more connectivity happening. I think big airlines are going to announce very soon as well a direct plane between us, the UAE, and increased connectivity, because we cannot prosper trade, businesses, mines, technology without getting people moving between the 2 nations. You know, if you want money to come in, money comes with the brains. If you want, you know, technology comes in, comes with people. So we need to enable connectivity to happen at the highest level for us as well to see the impact on the economy and trade. And to do more of this, connecting here on Monday morning in Capital Club is something which is important.
Absolutely. Thank you, Excellency. Your Excellency Amir, we spoke about your first day when you came to UAE in July 2021. Can you share with the audience?
I actually came on October 10th, but the nomination was announced July 20. Yeah, and let me tell you the story. You know, our Minister of, I'm not a career diplomat. And in my background, I was the managing director of the Israel Export Institute, and then director general of the Ministry of Industry and Trade, and then industrialist, and then director general of the Manufacturers Association, and the president of the Hotel Association. Actually, I lived nice life. And I swear to myself that I will never go back to the government. But let me give you a tip. Never say never. And the minister, our Minister of Foreign Affairs, called me and said, "Come, please come, and I'd like to meet with you." And I came to his office, and he entered the room, and he said, "Hayek, you are going to be the first ambassador to Abu Dhabi. Bye, the meeting is ended." I knew the very moment that this is not an offer you can say no. And I told His Excellency, and I told Waleed, I was born to a parent that was born in Iraq. And as a child, I was ashamed that they were listening to Farid al-Atrash at home, and Kulthum, and Abdul Wahab, and Fairuz. And I asked myself why they don't listening to Elton John or... And when I arrived here, I felt the very moment that I came to their neighborhood. It's not only the mission that I have, it's, you can't fake it. Either you like it or not. I came to the neighborhood. I came to my cousins. I came to visit family. So I felt home. Now, when you are feeling home, you know how to respect the culture, the language, the habits. And this is about what His Excellency just mentioned about people visiting each other and tourism. You know, the COVID-19 is a problem. But Israelis are early adopters of technology and early adopters of tourism. Once they opened the flights, 300,000 Israelis came already to the UAE. We need the Emiratis to come to Israel. Let me tell you a story. A secret. Don't say to anyone. Our summer is much cooler than the summer here. And you can spend your time visiting Tel Aviv, Jerusalem, the Sea of Galilee, everywhere. I think that tourism is the very basic. Why? Because people are seeing each other, talking to each other, learning about each other, and learning how to respect each other. All the rest will come later. Business will come only if there will be a trust. Only if I will respect your culture and you will respect my culture. If not, there will no business. There will be no business. We are in a marathon. We are not in a 200-meter sprint that, you know, we are coming to sell something and run away. No, no. We are building relations. And as I told Waleed, I would like to be in a situation when a business between Israeli company and Emirati company will be no news. This is the target, that it will be no news. It's natural. And we are on the way to do that.
Thank you, Your Excellency. Speaking of businesses, we've noticed that the bilateral trade between Israel and UAE is expected to grow by 6.5 billion within a decade. And then the private investment could rapidly grow to 10 billion between the nations. Your Excellency Abdullah bin Touq, how we can expand on this?
I think the most important part is as soon as we saw the Abrahamic Accord signing, we saw 60 MOUs and partnership agreement coming to light. And I can name a few of them. So, for instance, to really increase the bilateral trade, for instance, the Mubadala closed a $1 billion investment in Israeli Tamar gas field. Masdar Israel EDF Renewables announced agreement to explore renewable energy and opportunities. DP World signed an MOU. The Dubai Diamond Exchange signed an agreement with Israeli Diamond Exchange to foster collaboration and sharing knowledge. Mohammed bin Zayed University for Artificial Intelligence as well, and Israeli Weizmann Institute of Science will work to get advanced development of AI through academic exchanges. The IFC FinTech Hive signed as well an agreement with Israel FinTech Aviv to strengthen the role of Dubai International Financial Center as a global FinTech hub. Edge and Israeli Aerospace as well saw the development of the CUAS counter unarmed unmanned aircraft system tailored to the UAE market. So we saw a lot of these agreements, and these are just a non-exhaustive list, but we saw a lot of these happening. Now, to foster that, to bring that more trade, to bring that number to reality, and even go beyond that, we will see more and more, not just government to government, but more business to business MOUs and partnerships to sign and to happen. And I think from 18 months from the signing of the Abrahamic Accord coming now as well, we saw a lot of UAE, Israeli business-to-business commerce and chambers doing meetings, aligning viewpoints, and so forth. So this is something which is vital. And which $1.4 billion in the time of COVID, what would that number be if it wasn't COVID? And I think that's 6.5 for me is a very, very conservative number. I think the opportunity is much higher than that. I think the proximity, the mindset, like His Excellency have mentioned, there's a lot of opportunities that both nations can work together to bring a lot of economy, peace, and prosperity to a lot of things that we're doing.
Your Excellency Amir, would you like to expand on that?
I'd like to expand the numbers from 6.5 to 10. 6.5 will be great, but 10 will be greater and maybe more. And inshallah, we'll do it. And it's about knowing each other, talking to each other. And I will tell you later on about how to drill down the peace fruit to other companies and other sectors. And I think that this is crucial for the achievement of what we are aiming.
Thank you, Your Excellency. Your Excellency, from the discussion, it appears that a lot have been achieved in a such short period of time, and so much more to come. What are the key challenges that you foresee in the future, Your Excellency Amir?
I ask myself, what will be my KPIs as an ambassador? What is a good ambassador? Is it a nice person? No, maybe. Is it someone that is doing his best? No, maybe. My KPI is, as I told you, first, that companies will need the government less after I will leave and can do business without government. So we will need to put all the infrastructure in order to make it ready for them to do it, as His Excellency just mentioned about the set of agreements. But I saw in a very bold letters that the big companies are working, but the SMEs are not here yet. SMEs, I'm referring to small and medium enterprises. So in order to bring them to the table, I'm very happy to tell you that we have now, and it was for those of you who knows how governments works and how the Israeli government is working, we did something that can take 5 years. We did it in 3 months, and we established joint R&D fund between both countries of $100 million to bring $50 million from each side that will serve working together. It's great. Now, the conditions will be no Israeli company can get the money alone and no Emirati company can get the money alone. They will need to find each other, and we will help them to find each other, to believe in each other, to draw a joint R&D plan, and then they can approach the fund and get the money from the fund, and we will reduce their risk while they are doing this kind of business, and it will keep them together. Believe me, it will keep them together. And it will push forward the relations and the work of the SMEs from our side and the Emirati companies and investments from the Emirati side.
Thank you, Your Excellency. Your Excellency, Abdulla bin Touq, what are the key challenges that you foresee?
I rather see it as opportunities to come. I think the major key challenge that really transformed to opportunities that we're coming towards the end of COVID. I think we see lesser and lesser lockdowns and more people free to come in and out. I think it's very vital and important. I think what's really have signed and have done is very powerful. The amount of agreements that has been ratified is huge. The major opportunity that we see is the Comprehensive Economic Partnership Agreement that His Excellency Amir have mentioned just a moment ago that we're looking to sign. We announced it back in the September 2021, parts of the use of the 50 projects. We announced that we're going to sign with 8 nations. One's down, which was India. We signed it a week ago, 10 days ago. And I think Israel is going to be next. Hopefully we sign it by March, and we do that. So we're looking to sign the 8 nations within the next couple of months. And that opportunity for us that we're focusing on Israel at the moment to really push this faster and to make it happen is something that we've been discussing just in the room. So how can we get the SEPA on? How do we tackle the challenges of negotiators that enjoy coming and going? And I think that's important that, we need to push for us to take this opportunity and really raise the flag and say the Comprehensive Economic Partnership Agreement is something what both nations really need. And we will see more trade. So what does the Comprehensive Economic Partnership Agreement entails? Entails trade as one chapter of 18 chapters. Trades in goods and services. But as well, it has innovation, it has technology, it has intellectual property, it has huge chapters on energy, huge chapters on other stuff as well that's very vital and important for both nations to come in. And when that happens, the opportunities will even ratify even deeper. It's going to be more than on the business to business, large corporations, small and medium enterprises to come together and say, well, the government did their job. Government could go home and retire if they want. Amir will be happy with this. But I think it's important for them as well to understand that it's them needs to come to align the vision, align the mindset, and align the way to go forward with it. And I think that's something which is vital. The partnership with Israel is coming in nicely. I can tell you that the partnership as well has a lot of both team members that's aligned in the vision. And we will see the light to it very soon. It will bring the business then when trade is becoming much easier. A lot of custom duties are going to reduce on a lot of products between two nations. The protection of technology, the intellectual property of it as well will be solidified, and I think that's very, very vital. R&D is huge as well, it's a part of it. So there's going to be a lot of that inside information I'm just letting you guys know about, but this is something which is very vital between both nations, and I think it's important for us to take it forward.
Thank you, Your Excellency. Your Excellency Abdullah, it's been said that the UAE has the ecosystem and the infrastructure to become a destination and be a gateway, or more than a gateway. What is your thoughts on that?
Well, since joining the Ministry of Economy, I think back in July 2020, we came in with a lot of reforming laws and regulations. First, I think, which we wanted, and when we sat in, we said, it's COVID-19, it's the middle of the pandemic, it's July 2020. Who would probably want to accept this job, being a Minister of Economy at that time? But I say, listen, guys, this is an opportunity for us to really take away taboos. And let's start with the 100% ownership of companies in mainland. And that was the first law that we actually pushed through. The second law, we said, all right, people are in jail because of bounced checks and becoming criminals. So commercial transaction was the second. We chose to attack that as well. And we removed criminalizations of any bounced checks in the UAE, which came into action on the second day of January. We gave them a year and 3 months for banks and institution system to really adapt themselves. And then we started with the golden visa, the green visa, and the freelance visa regime, which actually started working in operation. We had 6 strategies announced as well through cabinet. So we managed to put a lot of focus on how does the UAE being an attractive ecosystem for businesses, to look at the UAE as a place to start up and to scale up as well. So that's something which is very vital. And we're still working on reforming. We're still working on ideas to change things. We will accept any ideas from the crowd as well. How can we reform a couple of things that really benefit both sides and really excel the economy forward?
So building on what you have said, Your Excellency, how we can leverage and utilize these synergies that you just identified between the two nations?
As I said, because first of all, we need to put people together. Then when they will know each other, trust each other, they will find the ways to work. This is why we established this R&D fund. It's not about R&D, and it's not about fund, and it's not about money. It's about putting people together. If it will encourage companies from both sides to sit together, we did our work. They will know what to do. We don't need to tell them what to do. They will know. And even if we'll give them some money, it's okay. That's the place where government should be. Encourage analyzing the situation and encourage the markets to move to the right direction. And even if the government should share the risk with the private companies, that's okay. This is what we need to do.
Your Excellency Abdullah bin Touq, how we could leverage on these synergies between the two nations?
I think these synergies and what we've done is there, and I think it's the job is very vital that we shed the light that the September 2020 Abrahamic Accord have put so many things into place, and I think it's important to look at how can we connect people more, how do we establish more communications and dialogues, create conferences that has both companies both together. I think that would really bring these synergies too. I was asked a couple of years ago, I think a year and a half ago when we were in the Accord, from one media personnel who said, we know what you're going to benefit from Israel, but we do not know what Israel is going to benefit from you. And I said, right. And I said, well, Israel is known for a startup nation, but we're known for a scale-up nation. And he laughed, and a year later, I saw the same journalist again. And I said, you remember the last time you asked me this question? I couldn't forget. He said, yes, and we were at the start of our agreement and of the synergy. And he said, yeah. I said, well, have you seen His Highness Sheikh Mohammed tweet in the summer this year, 2021? And he said, no. He said, Sheikh Mohammed announced about a drone company that took a job in Expo 2020 to survey the security of Expo. That's scale up. When Israel is a startup, UAE sees itself as a scale up and a gateway for this ecosystem and the synergy to take forward. This is something that's very vital and important. When we say startup, here's a scale up. And the UAE sees itself as a place not to compete, but to actually to scale into the region, to scale the technology, the ideas. And this company now, until date, is working in the Expo 2020, doing the police and security surveillance on the Expo. This is where you see synergies. This is where you see startup to scale up.
Let me give you another example. I had an argument with one of the senior government officials who told me, what are you doing? You are talking to industrialists to come to the UAE. Do you want to kill our industry? You know that all my life I was in the industry. And I told him, listen, I don't want to offend you, but you understand nothing about industry. He said, why? I said, because the UAE is the largest growth engine for the Israeli industry. Why? First of all, when we are coming here with our industries, and it's not for every industry. There are industries, I don't want to mention names, I don't want to hurt any industry, but there are industries that are not welcoming here because it will not give any added value to the UAE-Israel relations. But if I'm coming here with my factory to open a manufacturing site in the UAE with local partner, I can gain manpower that we don't have in Israel from each and every kind. I can gain the opportunity to purchase raw material in a great prices, better prices, competitive prices than we can buy in Israel, and then maybe the FTA, the Free Trade Agreement, will help. And third, we are gaining new markets that we don't have. So 1 + 1 + 1, this is growth engine. So this is what Israel have to earn in addition to what Your Excellency said. It's about innovation, it's about working together, it's about thinking not only about activities in the UAE or in Israel. we are talking and we are aiming to third countries as well, and other regions as well. And we can work together to other regions. We can add some companies from other countries as well. And we can do miracles for, as you mentioned, for the future of your 9-year-old daughter.
Thank you, Your Excellency. Your Excellency, to build up on what you said, what is your message to Israeli people? How we can make this peace sustainable and forever? Yes.
My message to the Israeli people. First of all, you should know. You see this bottle of water?
Yes.
In Israel, you have a position to this bottle of water. Some of the people will say, we are against it, why it's blue, I don't like the shape. And the others will say, we like it very much. There is one thing that we don't have any opposition. That's the Abraham Accords. The Abraham Accords, it's a consensus in Israel. The Abraham Accords, it's something that people think it's great, it's good, and we should encourage. So I don't need to give them any message, but only one thing is important. Respect the Emiratis, get to know the Emiratis, and build trust with the Emiratis. When you'll do that, the sky will be the limit.
Your Excellency Abdulla bin Touq, what is your message to UAE people?
I think it's very hard to speak after Amir. And one thing which is very important, and I go back to my story with my daughter, I think it's peace and prosperity is something which is very important. If we go back to the understanding of each other, I think that's something which is important as well. The aspects is that we need to encourage more visits. We need to encourage more culture, multicultural. The UAE always been a multicultural nation, bringing people together from different parts of the world. And I think that's something which is important. We need to really, as a UAE, show tolerance, show economy at the heart of what we do. We've been doing this for all the 50 years. And the UAE, what is UAE today? With the great leadership we have shown a lot of tolerance and have shown a lot of economy and have shown a lot of prosperity for the people, which allowed the 195 plus nationalities to be here. We have the highest countries to showcase in Expo, 192 plus countries, the highest in the world in the Expo history, to actually showcase their pavilions and the 6-month exhibition. This is something that shows as well that the UAE really attract diversity, really attract prosperity, and really focus on the human aspect of it. The UAE always been a tolerant and a peace pushing nation. We really would like this to be instilled, to look at it from that kind of aspect. The region, the COVID-19 is challenges, but I think we need to look at beyond that, where business to business, economy, technology, and the most important part is the youth. We have a lot of millions and millions of youth in the Middle East, and I think the UAE and Israel could show a little bit of hope as well to find jobs, create jobs as well for the youth in the region. These opportunities of technology and industry and expansions is not just for both nations and trade, but the job and opportunity that will be created for the youth will be something which is important that can overspill to the region.
We need to take care of education exchange. Cultural exchange, it's one of the most important things that I think, and the culture here at the UAE is in a very high level. And it is very important to cultural exchange. We are planning to bring here the Israeli orchestra on April. We are planning to bring here the Israeli National Theater. This is how you build relations between nations.
But Your Excellency, it stems from the first comment that you made about your 9-year-old daughter saying, why are we signing a peace accord? So we advise, I'm an investment banker, we advise a lot of companies, and thank you so much for signing these accords, because I never thought in my lifetime we'd be working with Israeli companies sitting here in UAE, and I'm a Canadian investment banker. So one of the issues that most of the large transactions that we are doing is, what if there is a event that happens and the two countries disagree? how do you guys, not in a diplomatic answer, but in a candid answer, have you guys thought about how to resolve it? Because it is bound to come. Today it's Ukraine and Russia. Tomorrow it could be something else where we agree to disagree on something. How do you guys plan to resolve that? Because that is the biggest question that they have, that if we are doing business, what if there is something which goes wrong? Because businesses really don't care about political boundaries, and they have to look beyond that. So both of you, any inputs and thoughts on that? It's a little bit loaded question, but it's important.
I think thanks for bringing this up. And if you allow me, Excellency, just to mention, I think the Comprehensive Economic Partnership Agreement has a big job and a big role to do. The CEPAs today works around as well. How do we, resolve disputes? And I think it's important because not just from government to government, but as well business to business. I think it's important to look at that. So this is something I would say probably wait and see till the CEPA comes out. I don't want to announce a lot of information out of it, but I think there's a lot of opportunities from it. In business and investment, there's a lot of disputes, but I think the agreement signing a CEPA will actually put dots on the lines, and I think it's important to see and understand to work on it. I think what's really important, both teams on the CEPA, our legal team, they are actually scratching each and every word, each and every sentence from a legality perspective to make sure that everything is scrubbed, nothing to be missed. Chapters, annexes is going to come out of it. And I think it's important to really look at it that this is a very hard work between both teams. Negotiators are working day and night to make sure that this happens. All this, and you guys are not really seeing it, but I think when the announcement comes and the ratification comes later on, you're going to see the benefit on the trade on the ground. And I think that's vital and important to it.
I would like to tell you a secret. We will have these agreements between both countries. I will have these agreements with my spouse. And it have nothing to do with the continuation and the commitment of these relations. The UAE is a sovereign country, and Israel is a sovereign country. There are some things that we will have disagreements. So what? So what? It will not affect business. It will not affect anything. We can talk about it and agree to disagree and continue and moving forward.